Bucknutters. Welcome to the Morning Five on Wednesday, September 24th, 2014. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by Steve Hellwagon. Steve, last night on HBO's Real Sports, Urban Meyer was interviewed, and it rehashed a lot of the stuff that happened while he was at Florida. In 2009, Meyer said he was depressed, thought he was dying. He also said he was addicted to winning. Now, some Ohio State fans have jumped on that last comment and said that Meyer isn't as driven as he was back then. I actually heard a DJ on a morning radio show today here in Columbus say he wishes Meyer was still addicted to winning. What do you think about this, Steve? I tend to think if this is a different Urban Meyer, it's going to lend itself to more longevity at Ohio State. I think he's going to be here. I don't think he has any interest in going to the NFL. I don't think he has any interest in going to another college program. I think if he was the same Urban Meyer, he would get burned out. I think he's going to be here for a while, and I still think he's a hell of a coach. Just curious what you think. Do you think this is still the same coach that kicked Ohio State's butt in the 2006 National Championship game?
No, I don't think it's the same person at all. But there's two schools of thought on that. As you said, the guy they have now may be better equipped to be the coach at Ohio State for a 10 or 15-year period. He's already on year 3. Boy, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. But and they've won a lot of games with him as the coach. I believe 26-3 right now, going into this game against Cincinnati. So, two ways to look at it. The first way, as I saw the show last night and heard what was said, was he won the second one over Oklahoma, the Tim Tebow senior year. And as soon as, his obligations were done with everybody, he locked himself into a room either at the Dolphins Stadium or back at the hotel and was calling recruits. And it just, you do that after you beat Florida State, or you do that after you beat Georgia on the bus ride back to Gainesville. But, when you've won the national championship, he's got some very, very he's got a tight-knit group of people in his inner circle, and the way he said it just made me believe one of those people got him and said, look, this is what we've worked so hard for. You need to enjoy this, and he couldn't. He was addicted to winning, and he had to keep the recruits coming, which is indicative, again, of all the negative stuff he took when he left Florida a year or two later. The guy's out there trying to recruit people to come to Florida after winning the national championship. It all rings kind of hollow. It's like, he left that situation in a much better position than a lot of people think. And, it is what it is. Is he the same guy he was in 2006 or 2008? No, I don't think he is, but I think he'll do just fine at Ohio State with the Urban Meyer they have today.
Yeah, no question about it. He might, he said he thought he was dying. He might have died if he kept doing what he was doing. He was taking 2 Ambien each night, drinking beer on top of that just to fall asleep. I mean, he said he was a mess. So, I think I see what some fans are saying. This isn't the same guy, but I don't think he'd be around if he was the same guy. So I still think Ohio State is fortunate to have Urban Meyer. On the recruiting front, linebacker Jerome Baker will take an unofficial visit to Ohio State this weekend for the Cincinnati game, and says he will return to Ohio State at some point this fall or early winter for an official visit. Baker is, of course, committed to Florida. But, Steve, the 4-star prospect sure sounds like he's a good candidate to flip. To me, this is pretty clear-cut, Steve. If Will Muschamp survives as Florida's head coach, I think Baker will stick with the Gators. If Muschamp is fired like I think he will be, I think Baker will flip to Ohio State. What do you think, Steve?
I agree 100%, and that's kind of what I put out there when this all came about, that he picked Florida. I mean, let's go through the schedule. They just played at Alabama. Next game is at Tennessee next week. Then LSU at home, Missouri at home, Georgia in Jacksonville, Florida, then South Carolina, and at Florida State, which I think is still number 1 or number 2 in the country. So that schedule, as I said, when Baker committed, sets up for 6-6, 7-5, whatever, and that's not going to be good enough for 5-7 for Will Muschamp to keep that job. So I think that this is going to be a situation where, Baker may or may not flip to Ohio State. He may flip to somewhere else. I don't know. But, I would put the odds of him actually signing with Florida at less than 50% as of today, because they weren't even really competitive. They played a good 2.5 quarters, but Alabama just showed their class, I think, in the second half and blew them out of there. And, now they're talking about how Driscoll isn't the answer. And, you go to a young quarterback, that's 3 losses right there. So, I don't know what to say, Dave. I I think the kid, wanted to go to Florida if all things being equal and the coaches were going to be there that recruited him there, but I have a hard time wondering that that's going to happen.
I'll take back the 5-7 record that I said for Will Muschamp. I'll predict 5-6. I forgot their first game was wiped off the books against Idaho due to lightning, so they're only going to play 11 regular season games there at Florida. I think they're only going to play 11 games, period, in Florida this year. Point spread for Ohio State and Cincinnati. It opened at 14. Buckeyes favored by 14 when it opened. It's up to 15.5. The money is going toward the Buckeyes here. I found that interesting. What are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, I was at a party Saturday night. My brother-in-law, Brett, we celebrated his 40th birthday, and his sister, my sister-in-law, is a Miami graduate. So we were flipping back and forth between 3 different games, and one of them was Cincinnati and Miami, and for the longest time, Cincinnati just struggled with Miami. Now, keep in mind, this is Miami, Ohio, which has lost 20 straight games, the nation's longest losing streak, and Cincinnati never, and I mean never, put them away. In fact, Miami had first and goal at the 1-yard line middle through the fourth quarter, 3 negative plays. They missed a field goal. Otherwise, they were about ready to tie the game with about 8 or 9 minutes to go. That right there tells me that, Cincinnati, they're going to beat up on schools like that. They're going to win those games. But, it's like the old adage, we wear caps and sleeves at this level. I mean, this is Ohio State. This is Ohio Stadium. I want to see how Gunnar Kiel performs under pressure. They need Joey Bosa and that front 4 on defense to really stand up and make plays. Darren Lee coming on a blitz probably. You can't leave Durant Grant and the guys out on an island for too long against this collection of wide receivers because Kiel will pick them apart. I mean, he threw for over 400 yards against Toledo. So, the capability is there. He's potentially down the line a pro quarterback, has great stock, great pedigree. He's going to throw it all over the lot on Saturday, but in the red zone, the Buckeyes are going to turn them away. My pick on the game, I'm going to have it in the game data here later today, 41-24. Ohio State in somewhat of a shootout. OSU's pass defense will be on call, and I think Ohio State with J.T. Barrett's going to put some points and some yards up on the board. I
like it. You have the Buckeyes covering, even with the new point spread at 15.5.
Cover and
on
kill,
the site,
yes.
Yeah, that's right. Cover and kill. On the site today, Bill Kurlick's in the dean's office is already on the site. You can ask him any question about recruiting or the current team. The boarding house will be posted a little bit past noon. Wednesday night is always a big night for team coverage. We'll interview Urban Meyer and several players after practice. That'll be around 6:15, 6:30. So look for a story plus video on what Coach Meyer has to say, plus stories, bullets, and videos on what the players have to say. Thanks to Steve Hellwagon. Thank you to all the listeners out there. Take it away, best damn band in the land.